Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karvavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right. So today we are doing all the vibhutis. And Subbu, I think we should start off with what what you prepared. And
you want to do the chanting, Rajesh?
Yeah, we'll do the chanting, but basically I just want to set the context. We'll do the,
Okay.
Basically, to everyone, Subbu has prepared some bunch of slides which sort of connects some of the Puranas with some of the vibhutis, what is mentioned here. So we'll go through it. And obviously, we will look at how, if we'll chime in wherever that is required to enhance the combined knowledge here. Okay. All right. So with that, Subbu, you want to chant up?
Yeah. Rajesh, you want to chant or you want me to chant?
You can chant.
One continuous.
You can chant.
Okay. You can see the slide?
Yeah.
Okay, today we chant from 10:19 to 10:27. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Antate Katayishyami Divyahyatma Vibhutayah Pradhanyata Kurushtreshtha Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Lord replied, Hanta, well, Kurushreshta, O Arjuna, Katayishyami, I shall tell you, Pradhanyataha, Pradhanyataha, the main, Divyaha, Atma Vibhutayaha, divine glories of mine, he, because, Astina Antaha, there is no limit, me, Vistarasya, to my manifestation. The Lord replied, well, O Arjuna, I shall tell you the main divine glories of mine, because there is no limit to my manifestation. Verse number 10.20. Ahamatma gudakesha sarvabhutashayastitaha ahamadischa madhyam cha bhutanam antayeva cha. Gudakesha, O Arjuna, Ahamatma, I am the self. Sarva Bhuta Shayasthitaha, residing in the heart of all beings. Aham Adihi, I am the beginning. Madhyam Cha, the middle. Yevacha, Antaha, as well as the end. Bhutanam, of all beings. O Arjuna, I am the self, residing in the heart of all beings. I am the beginning, the middle, as well as the end of all beings. Verse number 1021. Adityanamaham Vishnuhu Jyotisham Raviramshuman Marichir Marutamasmi Nakshatranamaham Shashi. Aham Vishnuhu, I am Vishnu, Adityanam, among the Adityas, Anshuman Ravihi, I am the radiant sun, Jyotisham, among the luminaries, Asmi Marichihi, I am Marichihi, Marutam, among the Maruts, Aham Shashi, I am the moon, Nakshatranam, among the luminaries of the night. I am Vishnu among the Adityas, I am the radiant sun among the luminaries, I am Marichihi among the Maruts, I am the moon among the luminaries of the night. Verse number 1022. Vedhanam Samavedosmi Devanamasmi Vasavaha Indriyanam Manuschasmi Bhutanamasmi Chetana. Asmi Samavedaha, I am Samaveda. Vedanam, among the Vedas. Asmi Vasavaha, I am Indra. Devanam, among the gods. Asmi Manaha, I am the mind. Indriyanam, among the senses. Cha Asmi Chetana, and I am the intelligence. Bhutanam, in all the beings. I am Samaveda among the Vedas. I am Indra among the gods. I am the mind among the senses, and I am the intelligence in all the beings. Verse number 1023. Rudranam Shankaraschasmi Vittesho Yaksha Rakshasam Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Merushikarinamaham. Asmi Shankara. I am Shankara, Rudranam, among the Rudras. Vitteshe, Kubera, I am Kubera. Yaksha Rakshasam, among the Yakshas and the Rakshasas. Asmi Chapavakaha, I am the Agni. Vasunam, among the Vasus. Cha Aham Meru, and I am the Meru. Shikarinam, among the peaked mountains. I am Shankara among the Rudras. I am Kubera among the Yakshas and the Rakshasas. I am Agni among the Vasus, and I am the Meru among the peaked mountains. Verse number 1024. Purodasam cha mukyam mam vidhi partha brihaspatim senaninamaham skandaha sarasamasmi sagaraha. Partha, O Arjuna, vidhi, mam, know me, brihaspatim, to be Brihaspati, mukyam, the foremost, purodasam, among the priests, aham skandaha, I am skanda, senanam, among the commanders, cha asmi sagaraha, and I am the ocean, sarasam, among the reservoirs. O Arjuna, know me to be Brihaspati, the foremost among priests. I am skanda among the commanders, and I am the ocean. Verse number 1025. Maharshinam Bruguraham Giramasmyema Aksharam Yajnanam Japayagyosmi Stavaranam Himalayaha. Aham Bruhu, I am Bruhu. Maharshinam, among the great sages. Giram, among the words. Asmi Ekam Aksharam, I am the word Om consisting of one syllable. Asmi Japa Yajnaha, I am Japa Yajna. Yajnanam, among Yajnas. Himalayaha, I am the Himalaya. Stavaranam, among the mountains. I am Bhrigu, among the great sages. Among words, I am the word Om consisting of one syllable. I am Japa Yajna, among Yajnas. I am the Himalayas, among the mountains. Verse number 1026. Ashvattas sarva vrikshanam devarshinam cha naradaha gandharvanam chitrarataha siddhanam kapilo munihi. Ashvatta, Ashvatta, sarva vrikshanam, among all the trees. Narada, I am Narada. Devarshinam, among divine rishis. Chitrarataha, I am Chitraratha. Gandharvanam, among the Gandharvas. Chamuni Kapila, and I am sage Kapila. Siddhanam, among the Siddhas. I am the fig tree among all the trees. I am Narada among the divine sages. I am Chitraratha among the Gandharvas, and I am sage Kapila among the Siddhas. Verse number 1027. Ucche Shravasam Vidhimam Amritodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam cha Naradhipam. Ashwanam, among the horses. Vidhimam, know me. Uchchai Shravas, to be Uchchai Shravas. Amritodbhavam, which emerged during the churning of the Milky Ocean for nectar. Gajendranam, to be Airavatam, among the great elephants. Cha Naradhipam, and to be the king. Naranam, among human beings. Among the horses, know me to be Uchchai Shravas, which emerged during the churning of the Milky Ocean for nectar, to be Airavatam among the great elephants, and to be the king, Nara, Adhipa, among the human beings. Om Tat Sat.
Beautiful, Subbu. Thank you. Your voice is actually sounding like Ghantazala voice to me.
Thank you, Rajesh. So should I just start with those few slides?
Yeah, I think you should start with the few slides, and all of us can chip in wherever we remember something that has
Okay, you
that
can
can
see
enhance
this,
what
right?
we're doing.
All of you can see this? Yeah.
Not it. We can see only the shloka and meanings.
I've already projected.
Then you're not shifted
Tell
this
me when you're
change.
able to see, because it's already projected in my end. Yeah.
I think you may have to share the screen again because it's
Yeah.
sharing the other.
Stop sharing and share again, Subbu.
Just once. Yeah, okay, 1 second. Just 1 second.
Yes,
Yep.
we can see it now.
You can see it? Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Hari Om, everyone. So this was actually a inspiration from what Rajesh posted in the group 2 days back. I thought, to do these 10, 12 shlokas, it's important to actually understand the connect as why certain vibhutis are being mentioned as, the glorious ones. So I tried to actually dig a little deeper in understanding what it is. This effort is just a effort from my end, but it may not be fully complete. So I request you to add as we go by. And as I take you through some of these slides relating to the linkage to Puranas and other scriptures. So Vibhuti Yoga, the glories of the Lord. Just one second. Yeah. So we are covering actually verses 19 to 27 in this, satsang. And in 19 is when I think Arjuna is asking Krishna, saying that, it's not that you have not given me the vibhutis earlier. You have already told me in chapter 7 and chapter 9, but I still want to understand something which is extraordinary and glorious of yours in much more detail. And therefore, tell me the extraordinary vibhutis once again, so that I can use that as one alambam, which is basically a symbol for meditation or worship to attain you. So while that is the request put up by, Arjuna, so from 19 onwards, I think the Lord starts to give his vibhutis. So he starts giving his vibhutis from verse number 20 and goes on till 39. And what Paramarthananda Swamiji says is that, the first vibhuti that actually the Lord talks about is actually the Nirguna vibhuti of the Chaitanya, Atma. Aham Atma Gudakesha. So that is the first thing that he starts with. And he ends with a Nirguna vibhuti again in verse number 39. And in the middle, he's packed up, from verse number 21 to 38, he has packed up all the Saguna. Okay, so basically starting with Nirguna is the greatest form, vibhuti, and then coming one step lower to Saguna. And from 21 to 38 covers the Saguna and then ends up with the Nirguna again, right? So there will be 3 kinds of vibhutis here. So one is the Nirguna vibhuti we already saw in verse number 20 and verse number 39. And then there is a Laukika vibhuti, which is basically, references to the vibhutis that is seen in the world. And the third one is basically related to the vibhutis based out of scriptures, right? So there are 3 kinds of vibhutis that is being spoken about here. One of the references in the scriptures and Puranas is basically when you look at the gods and the demigods and deities, etc., there are actually 33 main devatas. Now, these 33 main devatas are actually, 5 of type, the 12 Adityas, 11 Rudras, 8 Vasus, Indra, and Prajapati. Prajapati is actually Brahmaji only. So 33 main devatas, they are invoked in all the rituals that we are doing in the Vedas, which is there in the Karma Kanda. All these are, invoked during the time when the rituals are being done. And it is these 33 devatas, as per the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, they have multiplied into crores of 33 crore devatas. Okay, so that's the understanding here. And as we speak on the vibhutis, there are 2 significant stories which emerge. Okay, one story is of Gangavataram, which is the coming down of Ganga, to from the heavenly abode to the Bhumi, and from Bhumi to the Patala Loka. There is a story around it. And the second story is about the churning of the Milky Ocean, which is the Samudra Mathanam. Okay, so there are 2 stories which are, significantly, spoken about in his lectures. So I thought I'll take some reference to that and I will share some of the inputs that he has shared. And of course, Rajesh was asking about the reference to Vishnu Sahasranam. I think there are many references, of the Vibhutis in Vishnu Sahasranam. In fact, all the 1008 names are Vibhutis in itself. In fact, the starting of the Vishnu Sahasranam is like Vishnam Vishnurva Shatkaro, that itself is saying that Vishnu is the Virat Purusha. He is everything, in the universe, right? But there are also some of the, slokas which I picked up from Vishnu Sahasranam, that is Subhujo Durdaro Vagmi Mahendro Vasudo Rupu Vasuhu Naikarupo Brihadrupa Shipivishta Prakashana. Shipivishta is actually referring to the sun. Prakashana is the effulgence that is being spoken about. Then Ojas Tejo Diritara Prakashatma Pratapanaha Riddha Spashtaksharo Mantra. When you say Spashtaksharo Mantra, basically which is referred to the monosyllable Om, and Chandramshur, which is saying basically talking about the moon, and Bhaskara Dyutihi, which is again, relating to the sun. Okay. There are many multiple references in Vishnu Sahasranam, but I just thought I'll pick a few of them and say what is more related to the 8 slokas that we are trying to do today. Okay. Coming to basically this I just put it in a template form just for my understanding. This is my notes. I just thought I'll share it with you. But very quickly, I think verse number 1020 talks about, amongst all the living beings, I am Atma Chaitanyam. And the reason for that is basically that, it is the Chaitanyam which actually, keeps the living beings alive, right? Every organ is sentient because of the Chaitanya, and it is the Chidrupa's Vibhuti which is being spoken about here. And one reference that one can take is that since the Lord is revered as every form of life in this universe, the need to be, not harming others is exceptionally, spoken about in the scriptures. And therefore, ahimsa paramo dharmaha becomes the, one of the, values that one needs to imbibe in, in this world, right? Even if you're not able to practice ahimsa fully, I think the aim is to actually mitigate to the extent that you can perform ahimsa on the other person, right? And which is why you see that in many of the, scriptures, you will see that a lot of rishis actually end up, eating fruit which has actually fallen from the trees, and they don't go and pluck the fruits. There are rishis like that. And also, if you look at it, the need for vegetarianism is also something which is coming out of this, saying that, life has to be revered. And as a result of which, we do not try to create a harm to the other being. And therefore, the promotion of vegetarian food. And in some cases, like plants and this one, people normally, the rishis end up taking only the fallen fruit. And, to that extent, they practice ahimsa. Okay. In the second part of the same verse, he talks about the fact that I am in the beginning, the middle, and the end. And basically saying that he's the Shrishti Karana, the, Sthiti Karana, and the Laya Karana. Okay. And he's the Jagat Karana, right? And one thing which comes out of this is that, if you look at the clay pot example, the clay was there before the creation of the pot. And it is also there during the existence of the pot. And it will continue to be there with the destruction of the pot, right? And this is one thing that we need to understand, that the cause is, always there in past, present, and future, which is the Karanam always, is present in the past, present, and future. And if you see, the shloka in Bhagavatam also, there is this Chaturshloki Bhagavatam where he says, Aham eva sameva gre nanyas, where he says, Aham eva is I alone, okay, was there in the beginning, was there in the middle, and will be there in the middle, will be there in the end. And therefore, it raises a very fundamental question on, relationships that we have. So whatever relationships that we have, is only for one Janma, but the relationship that we have with God is, across Janmas. So if you look at who is my security, it is basically God alone is my security, because he's the one who's there in the past, present, and future. Okay. That's the take here. Verse number 1021, he talks about among Adityas, he's the Vishnu. So there are 12 Adityas. Adityas are actually, Dwadashaditya. Okay. And Dwadashaditya is basically, the 12 faces of the sun representing the 12 months. Okay. Even in Surya Namaskar, there are 12 Namaskars that we do to the sun. Okay. To the different 12 Adityas that we are talking about. And, as per the Puranas, Adityas are actually the Putras of Aditi. Okay. And since in Vamana Avatar, Vishnu was born to Aditi, he is also called an Aditi Putra, and therefore among the Adityas, he is referred to as the Vishnu. Okay. and among the luminaries in the sky. So when you talk about luminaries in the skies, whom are you referring to? You're referring to stars and you're referring to planets. And, there is a survival, sun is required for our survival. And we have Aditya Hridayam, which is a special work, which is, there to glorify the Lord Sun. And in Ramayana, there is a reference where sage Agastya teaches Aditya Hridayam to Rama to take on his bow and fight, and fight with Ravana, okay? And what it actually assures is praying to the sun god actually assures you material and spiritual victory. And the sun is the Pratyaksha Ishvara, right? So we're all talking about Saguna forms here. So, relations to what you physically can see in the world, okay? That is why what happens is we are encouraged, as part of Vedic culture to get up early in the morning to receive the sun, okay? Because it is God entering your, home. So we propitiate to the sun. We do Sandhya Vandanam, early in the morning, and we light the lamp also early in the morning to be able to, and show and seek his blessings. Marut is basically, there are certain colonies, which Swami P explains in his lecture, saying that there are different colonies in heaven, and these are held by Devatas. Devatas are typically jivas who have accumulated a lot of punya and occupying certain positions, right? But when you talk about the Maruts, you're referring to basically the wind. And the Lord says among the, the various, aspects of wind, he's Marichi, the pleasant breeze, okay, which actually envelops you, and you feel good about. In the next statement, he makes that he's the star among the stars in the night. He's the moon, because it is the most brilliant and attractive. And there is a practice of, doing Masi Purnima, Chitra Purnami, etc., celebrate Purnami Puja on a regular basis. This is one way of actually propitiating to the Lord, by keeping moon as one of the symbols. Just one second. So 1022, he talks about Samaveda. The reason why Samaveda is chosen is, it is because it is musical in nature. One thing I picked up here was, most of the other Vedas, right? That is the Yajur Veda, Rig Veda, and Atharvana Veda. There are only 3 swaras that are used, right? And most of them are, between Sarega, Sarega, you will be able to manage and make the whole Veda chant possible. But whereas in Samaveda, all the swaras are used, all the 7 swaras are used. And that is why it is, Krishna says that, he is Samaveda here, because it is not only, the Veda which is giving you the gist, but it is also, musical in nature, and it covers the entire swaras. As far as Devas are concerned, Vasava is basically the Indra Devata here, which is the controller of all the Devatas. Amongst the Indriyanam, he says, I am the Manas. Okay. We know that the senses have only one function, which is eyes can see, ears can listen, etc. But Manas can actually, is capable of functioning in all the fields of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Rasagandha. Okay. And therefore, mind is superior to all the senses. And it is also used as an alambanam of the Lord. And actually, the Taittiriya Upanishad focuses more on the mind meditation, and it is very prevalently, spoken about and practiced. As living beings, he says, I am the consciousness. We spoke about this, thing earlier also. He says that, we value life, and therefore the manifestation of the Lord. The point is that here, when he talks about living beings, he's speaking about not just the human being, but also the, the smallest insects that are there in the, creation. And even a small ant, has a body-mind complex. And if you were to keep a finger in front of an ant, the ant will actually turn its direction and move away. So, the fact that it is this, consciousness which is keeping everything alive in this world, and it is a means of actually valuing, creation, and also the acceptance that, we are not in a position to create even one unicellular organism, despite so many years of research. Okay. In 1023, he talks about the Rudras. There are 11 Rudras which are being spoken about in the scriptures. Okay. When you do the Ekadashi Rudra, which is the chanting of the Rudram 11 times, okay, you do 11 times chanting because, and a multiple of 11, primarily because, we're talking about 11 Rudras here. The one in the center, apparently in the puja, there are 10, Rudras, and the one in the center is, the middle is actually the Shankara. Okay. And it is, Shankara actually means the most auspicious one. It is the Mangalam, it is Ananda. Okay. And in a way, by giving Ananda, he removes the sorrows, right? And in fact, Satya Sai Baba used to say, Rudram chant panni Bhadrama abdin solvaru. So in the sense, chant Rudram and, protect yourself is what he would say. And Rudram actually brings in a lot of joys, and it is a deity to actually remove the sorrows. Yakshas and Rakshasas are basically, different kinds of devatas in the heavenly world, and Kubera is amongst them, who's the master of the wealth. And apparently, the story of Tirupati is Lord Venkateshwara's story of indebtedness to Kubera, but there is also a story of Badrinath temple, where apparently you give a coin to the Badrinath, Kubera, and take it back and keep it in your purse, and it is expected to multiply. That is the belief that travels. Okay. In 1023, he talks about the Vasus. The Vasus are 8 in number, which is the Panchabhutas, sun, moon, and stars. Here he says, I am Parvaka, which is Agni. Okay, because Agni gives warmth and sustains life. And, it is also a great purifier. Okay, because anytime you want to, remove the impurities, heating is one of the mechanisms it is used. Water, you want to purify water, you boil. You want to cauterize a needle, you sterilize it, you heat it. You want to dry clothes, you wash it and then you dry it. So Agni is supposed to be the purifier, and here it is also referred to as a purifier of the mind. And Krishna says, I am the fire principle. Okay, and that is why this use of, the flame also to invoke the celestial light and then keep it at home and light the lamp much before, daybreak. Right. Among the mountain, he says he's Meru, and there was a very interesting note here. There are many hypotheses on what Meru is. Now, some people say Meru is the Himalayas. Some people say Meru is a mountain in the polar region of North Pole. And some people also say that, it is not a visible mountain and it is somewhere in the heavens. Now, apparently, there was a person in the south who, did some research on this, and he concluded that the Meru mountain that is being spoken about in the scriptures is the one in the North Pole, because there is a statement in the scriptures which says that the sun actually goes around the Meru mountains. And he says during the, first 6 months of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, since there is no night and there is no sunset, the sun is actually going around this mountain. And apparently this is somewhere in the, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden area. And Meru is used in all the functions, rituals, and it is one of the peak mountains, and it is Pradakshinam of Meru is expected to be a pilgrimage in our scriptures. Among Purohits, he is Brihaspati. So Purohits are of two kinds, celestial and earthly Purohits. Okay. And Brihaspati is one who's helped Indra and the Devatas. Okay. And he guides us in all the rituals. So among the Purohits, he's Brihaspati. Skanda, the army commander, Skanda was actually Subramanya. And apparently he emerged out of Lord Shiva's third eye, to destroy a Rakshasa. And Skanda actually means flow out, emerge. And since it came out of the third eye of Shiva, he also represents Jnanam. And that's why it is called, Subramanya is referred to as Jnana Skanda. So it also attains a philosophical significance of giving knowledge. Among the water bodies, he's the ocean. Now, here is where the story comes in of, the story of Ganga Avataram, okay, the coming down of Ganga from the heavens. Apparently, there was a Raja called, Sagara Raja, who was trying to do an Ashwamedha Yajna. And Indra was a little worried, because if you do 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas, you can actually occupy the position of Indra. So Indra was very worried, and he wanted to do something to, sort of spoil this function. And therefore, he stole the Ashwamedha horse and ran away with it. And apparently, the Sagara Raja had 60,000 sons, right? And Sagara Raja sent these 60,001 sons. So Sagara Raja actually sent 60,000 sons, and he told them to go behind Indra to get this, Ashwamedha horse when it was stolen. And Indra, what he did was he went to Patala Loka, and he saw these 60,000 sons chasing him. And as a result of which, what happened was he tied the horse around, Kapila Muni was sitting there in Patala Loka and meditating for many years. And what Indra did was he tied the horse to a tree next to Kapila Muni, and he escaped. Now the 60,000 sons came, looking for the horse, and they started digging huge pits, okay, which is now what is called the ocean. and these pits were dug by, you know, the Sagara Putras, Sagara Raja's Putra, and water started flowing into it, right? And then they somehow reached Patala Loka, and they saw Kapila Muni with the horse, and they thought the Muni has the one who has actually stolen the horse, and they started giving him abuses. And the Muni woke up, and then he got angry and enraged, saying that they're accusing him of something he had not done, and therefore he burnt the 60,000 sons. Just by his opening of his eyes, he just burned them to ashes. This is the story. Now, obviously, there was a concern. There was this one son who was, seeing this whole thing. He came to Kapila Muni and asked him, and he said the only remedy for this is to, ensure that Ganga, flows down and, sort of revives them and gives them moksha, because they were not able to do the rituals because they got completely burnt. So what happens is this guy goes back to his father. Father says, it is your job to, get Ganga down. And he doesn't know how to do it. So his son again tries, and his grandson is Brihaspati. Now, Brihaspati is the one who finally, takes this task. And that is why they say whenever somebody takes a very Herculean task, it is referred to as a task, he's referred to as a Brihaspati, right?
Bhagirath.
So he prayed for...
Bhagirath.
Sorry. Bhagirath. Yeah, so sorry. Thank you, Alpana. So Bhagirath actually prayed for almost close to about 1,000 years. And what happened was Brahmaji came, and then he said he agreed to actually send Ganga from the heavens to Patala Loka to, revive the 60,000 sons of Sagaraputra. Now, what happened is when this happened, Ganga was not very happy that Brahmaji gave the, boon to, this Bhagirath. Okay. So as a result of which, what happened is she said that she would actually come up with huge force, and with that force, if she was to come into the earth will actually get destroyed or shattered, etc. So what happened is Bhagirath again started praying to Lord Shiva, because Shiva is the only one who can help him in this thing. So he prays to Shiva for another 1,000 years, and then Shiva agrees to actually take on to Ganga. And so after meditation, what happens is that, Ganga is taken, and Ganga comes with a full amount of force, but then Shiva takes it in his, jada, and then ties it around. Now, what happens is since the jada is around Ganga gets, suffocated, and Bhagirath actually finds it difficult that it is not flowing down to Patal Loka, because Shiva has taken the mighty force of Ganga and tied it up his head. So again, he prays to Shiva to actually release some water, and Shiva finally releases some amount of water, which flows down to the, Bhuloka. And as it flows into Bhuloka, what happens is there is a sage called Janma Rishi. So it flows through his hermitage. And while this is happening, it floods, and therefore he gets a little irritated, and he drinks the whole Ganga into his mouth, and he puts it into his stomach. So again, Kapila, Bhagirath is, forced to pray for some more time, and, request the, sage to actually release Ganga, and he releases the water through the ear. And now it flows down, and then the sons are revived. Okay. So actually, why this particular story of Gangavataram is being spoken about is, what Swami P says is that, it is a lesson in perseverance, right? And it is very important for anybody going on the spiritual path to be staying on this path and putting all the efforts that is required, despite all the obstacles. So he says there are 3 types of people. One is Manda, somebody who doesn't start because thinking, it is impossible to do. Number 2 is Madhyama. Madhyama starts, but he gives up halfway because there is obstacles. He feels these obstacles cannot be crossed. So he's in between. Uttama is the Bhagirath's example, where despite many obstacles, he was able to revive his ancestors through by getting Ganga down to the Patala Loka. Okay, so this is one story, and I'll tell you why the story is there also as we go back, go in to the remaining slides. Last 2 more slides. I won't take more than 5 more minutes, 10 minutes, Rajesh. So in 1025, he talks about that he's Bhrigu. Okay, so there is 2 kinds of rishis spoken about. One is the Maharishis, and the other one is the Devarishis. When he says he's Devarishis, he says he's Narada. When he says Maharishis, he's saying I'm Bhrigu. Okay. So who's Bhrigu? Bhrigu is actually the, he's one of the Saptarishis, born directly out of Brahmaji's mind. And that is why he's also called a Manasa Putra. Okay. And he's considered to be the eminent one because he was able to put the Trimurtis through the test. So Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva was actually put to test by Bhrigu because he wanted to know who is the patient one. And both Brahmaji and Shiva failed. And when he kicked Lord Vishnu on his chest, Vishnu held his leg and inquired whether it hurt him. Okay, so Vishnu was the patient one. Vishnu was the one who actually, qualified to be more the patient one in Bhrigu's test. And since he had the capacity to be a great examiner of the Trimurtis, he is referred to as a Maharishi, and Krishna says that I am Bhrigu among the Maharishis. Okay, among the words he says I am Om. Om is a monosyllable. We know that there is a lot of description of this in the Mandukya Upanishad. Om actually is A, U, and M, and it encompasses the Trinity again. The Akara, Ukara, and the Makara, is confined in this, and it is a most efficacious mantra which is used in both Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and Jnana Kanda. Okay. When it comes to Japa, when it comes to Yajna, he says he's Japa. And why is he Japa? Because Japa is something that anybody can practice without any restrictions at any place, at any time. Whether you have health issues, if you were to do rituals the Karma Kanda way, there may be a lot of restrictions. Some people are allowed to do Agnihotri is allowed only for certain people. Kshatriyas cannot do it. Certain things like Rajasuya Yagya only Kshatriyas can do. Some rituals only males can do. Some only females can do. But here in Japa, anybody can do. Okay. Second thing, it does not take any physical effort, other than the fact that you're using an organ of speech to be able to do the Japa over a period of time, right? And the third is it doesn't require any expenditure, right? So it is one of the most simplest thing by which you can actually attain spirituality, and therefore it is spoken that you have to do one sadhana of 108 times of any nama that you want to take, and do it regularly over a period of time, right? And he says if you want to really unlock the potency of this mantra, you have to count the number of aksharas. If you say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, okay, 5. So you have to multiply it by a lakh. Okay, you chant it 5 lakh times is when the potency will get unlocked. And you chant it 1 crore times, it will get even more unlocked. So that is how it is spoken. Okay. So if you want to really, unlock the potency of a particular mantra, take a mantra, multiply it by lakh or crore and chant so many times and you will be able to do that. Okay. Among the immovable things, he says he's Himalayas, and that is also the Shiva's abode. And among the trees, he says is Ashwatha. Ashwatha tree is very unique in the sense it is referred to the people tree actually. And it actually has the Trinity embedded in it. So the mantra goes like this, okay? Mulato Brahma Rupaya, that is the roots are referring to the Brahma. Madhyato Vishnu Rupine, that is the trunk is referred to as the Vishnu. And Agrataha Shiva Rupaya, that is the top is referred to as the Shiva, okay? And Vriksha Rajayate Namaha, to that particular Vriksha, I salute and offer my namaskars. Okay, so it is the Trinity tree, and it is also referred to as the Bodhi tree in Buddhism. Coming to 1025, we are talking about Devarshi. We spoke about Maharishi is Bhrigu, and for Narada, he says, I am amongst the Devarishi, I am Narada. There are 2 points here. In the Chandogya Upanishad, Narada actually gets Brahma Jnana from Sanat Kumara, okay? And that Brahma Jnana is referred to as Bhuma Vidya. Bhuma refers to Brahman, and, and Narada, the name itself says, Naram means Jnanam, and Dha means giver. So Narada is the giver of knowledge, and therefore he is Narada amongst the Devarishis. Among the Gandharvas are people, celestial beings in heaven, who actually, are known for certain forms of art, music, dance, painting, sculptures, etc. And the king of Gandharvas is Chitraratha, and that is why he says, I'm Chitraratha. The Muni Kapila, we've already seen him. He could burn 60,000 people just by opening his eyes, and therefore he had Siddhi. Okay, he had Siddhic powers. So Paramarthananda Swamiji says there are 4 kinds of people. If you take Siddha and self-knowledge, Kapila Muni had both Siddha and self-knowledge, right? And therefore he is referred to as Kapila Muni as the best among the Siddhas. The horses, lordly elephants, and Airavatha and Uchai-Sravas. Now, this is a story of the churning of the ocean, which I will cover in the next slide. But the last one is basically among the king. He says, among the men, he says, I am the king, because king is supposed to be protecting dharma, and hence, since dharma, yada yada hi dharmasya, the Lord is referred to as a one who's protecting dharma. He says, I am the king. So that is the reference to being the king among the men. Now, this is my last slide. So basically, the lessons in Vedanta, see, the churning of the ocean is like this. So there is a story, of a curse which comes to the Devas and Asuras because, I think the Airavat, I think there is something that happens in the, Devas and Asuras, and they are looking for, getting nectar. And so you see Devas on one side and Asuras on one side. And the churning of the ocean, we know the story. A Lord took the form of, Kurma Avatar, the tortoise, and he held the, the mountain. I think the mountain is Meru, right? On him, so that and Vasuki was called in as a rope to be able to churn the, Sagara to be able to get the Amrit. Now, when this started happening, apparently what happened is, at first, there were 14 precious things which came out of, the Sagara, the ocean. The first one to come was Lakshmi. Then there is Airavata. Then afterwards, this, Uchchai Shravas. You see these, things, right? All of them came out. There are some 14 numbers, 14 precious things which came out. And at the end of it, there was also Vesham that came out. The poison also came out. Okay. Now, how Paramarthananda Swamiji says is, he says, the ocean churning and Gangavataram it actually symbolizes the need for perseverance to obtain Brahma Vidya. Okay. So getting Brahma Vidya from the Lord is like getting Gangavatar, getting Ganga from the heavens into, the Bhuloka and then Patala Loka. The Samudra Matanam is like churning of your mind. Okay. Now, your mind is the Sagara. Okay. And the ocean is actually the Milky Ocean, which refers to the Sattva Guna. And the churning rod is nothing but the scriptures. Okay. And by doing so, one will get various glories and siddhis. And if you start churning your mind with the scriptures, the knowledge of the scriptures, you will get a lot of benefits. You will get a lot of siddhis and a lot of glories. Okay. But if you are satisfied with the initial benefits like Lakshmi, Airavata, and the precious stones and the Uchchai Shravas which come up, you would not have found, unlike the Devas and Asuras who were not satisfied with this, they would not have got the Amritam otherwise. Okay. So it is important for us to, so what happens is when we are in the spiritual path, we may get a lot of worldly benefits, but that is more like an obstacle and a hindrance than anything else, is what Paramarthananda says. And he says one should understand and continue these efforts so that the real goal is achieved. So that is the Sagara Matanam linkage and the Gangavataram linkage to the lessons in Vedanta. So thank you very much. Om Tat Sat.
Awesome, Subbu. Deadly, man.
Fantastic.
Hey, thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank
You are in a flow today.
And the mountain used for that one was Mandar, not Meru.
Mandar. Okay, sorry.
Mandar
I'm also
Parvat.
trying to
And
recap
is it 14 or 13 things that came? I thought
14.
The book, it
14
said
is what is mentioned. I think even
maybe
Swami
the
says
14th was the Amrutam itself. I don't know. Because
possible.
in this text, I remember seeing the 13 number. I may be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And it
Rajesh,
was-
to your question, that Kapila Muni, I have heard both views. So one says, no, it isn't the same Muni, because the Kapil Muni, which is mentioned here, is a Vishnu avatar. And he was the one who married Devahuti, who was the daughter of Manu and Shatrupa. And he's the one then who then taught Devahuti, because the father, Kardam Rishi, he left after the son was born. And then the mother wanted to know the knowledge which Kapila Muni gave to her. And he was both enlightened and he was a Siddha. So people say he's not the same one who wrote, but in our book, he refers to as the one who wrote Sankhya philosophy.
Yeah, that's what I also thought. Yeah. Okay. Very nice. Subbu, this was beautiful. Why don't we spend maybe the next 40 minutes that we have to listen from others in terms of any other insights that you glean from these shlokas.
Hey, I had a question. Why is that doubt when he says the Meru mountain? Why is there that question that it could be Himalayas as well? Because in a subsequent verse, he refers to Himalayas as Himalayas itself. Right. So why should it be, why should that thought that Meru could refer to Himalaya?
Because Meru is a peak, Himalaya is the whole range. So it could be a peak, one of the peaks in Himalayas is the confusion. But a lot of people think that Meru is a imaginary, invisible, not imaginary, invisible mountain.
Yeah.
The one that you can never cross. So that's why even in the Japamala, there's one bead which is known as Meru, and you never cross over it. You turn it, when you do Japamala, you complete one round, and then you turn around, and then you do like that. Because that bead, the biggest bead, is known as Meru, and you're never supposed to cross it till you are enlightened.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
one other thing, what I also heard is that if you remember the theory of creation as from our Vedantic and Puranic not Vedantic, Puranic perspective, it talks about these 14 lokas and all that stuff, right? So all these 14 lokas, they are not necessarily um, uh, they're not necessarily space-wise aligned in some fashion. Okay, they could be. If you say Patala, doesn't mean you dig into the ground. It is a level below a certain a plane of existence that we normally used to, and then likewise you go down. Likewise, similarly above as well. Okay, and so when you look at all this entire 14 lokas, there has to be an axis. There has to be an axis, a center of point that would connect all these 14 lokas and make them go in a particular fashion, or an organized fashion. Okay, and just as you have all these celestial bodies, the sun, moon, and the planets and everything, in space, all of them are revolving around some axis or the other, which may not be known to us at this point of time. So what I have read is that this Meru mountain apparently is that center axis on which all these 14 worlds, okay, in the creation, that talks about in the creation, all of them are revolving around that. So it's that centered point, as what they call it. But I really have no clue what this is. I'm kind of making up stuff as I speak here.
No, actually, a lot of places, there are different points of views on the same thing, So I really do not know. I was trying to look at even what is Rudras, if, in some place, Swami P says Shankara is a Rudra. But if I look at 11 Rudra, Shankara's name doesn't come, right? So I don't know whether it is a different name being used for something. So really don't know which is the scripture to follow. And it varies according to the Puranas you choose also. Vishnu Purana says something, Shiva Puranas uses Shiva as the center and does everything around it. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Hey, and just going back to that Meru mountain, it says, the base of that Meru mountain is supposed to be in Jambudvipa. And isn't Jambudvipa something that you say in, when
Jambudvipa is the Indian subcontinent.
Indian subcontinent.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just a little confused, when they say that the Meru mountain's base is on Jambudvipa, then...
That's why I think Himalaya was the first choice. It's a peak within Himalaya, and that's why
Uday, one.
Yeah,
no, go ahead. No, go ahead, finish.
No, I finished.
So I heard recently, which I found very fascinating on Jambu Deepa, because whenever we are sitting for puja, there's always that Jambu Deepa comes about. And I always used to wonder, what is this like? We are sitting in India and this is Jambu Deepa. So apparently that all the 5 or 6 continents, whatever we have today, they were all together, and India was an island. And this is somebody who was explaining, who has read all the scriptures and whatnot. So he was explaining this to me, in fact, last weekend. So it's fresh in my head. So that's why we say Jambu Deepa.
Cool.
And one other thing, the reference to Meru also, the spinal cord is called as Merudand in Sanskrit.
Okay.
Okay.
To your point, Rajesh, the different lokas that you said, 14 lokas, they are sometimes interpreted as the different chakras in the body too.
Correct. So that's what I was
That is
coming to.
one,
So
when it comes to that, then it makes sense. What
yeah.
you
So
said.
the point is here, if you look at it, in Swami Chinmayananda talks about saying that Bhagavan will talk about his immanence as well as his transcendence, right? The yoga and vibhuti. So I don't think that people make a lot of distinction between the external world and the internal world, especially the spiritual people on the spiritual path. So if you don't make that distinction, saying that okay, hey, I am moving away from external world into myself, and if you just say okay, I'm just focusing on on the so-called the body and mind, and then spine becomes the most important thing, and then you're trying to elevate all your energies through meditation or whatever that you do, and then you get to that Sahasrara chakra and all that part of it. So I think it's all mystical, and in some sense, depending on which school of thought that one aligns their mind themselves with, they probably will find some meaning. But these are all the things that we should understand from our perspective. I think we should just take away that there's no difference between this body and mind and this external world. It's all the same, because there's only one thing ultimately.
Just on that point, Rajesh, in yoga, spine is considered, everything centers around the spine. In fact, all asanas are created around the spine, with the 6 degrees of freedom around the spine. So it's the most important thing.
Yeah, very interesting. I think our ancestors have perfected the art of figuring out how to live life.
There's actually a story, again, mythological story around the Vajrasana, where you sit with your. So Vajra is the lightning, right? And in this case, it's a diamond. It's called the diamond pose. So, and it's the hardest substance. So, yeah, the story goes like, they wanted to defeat a particular Rakshasa, and they finally they reach this yogi who was supposed to have the hardest spine because of his years of practice of meditation. And then they ask him, and so he gives up his body, and from that spine, the hardest substance, they build a they build a what do you call that? A weapon to finally destroy the Rakshasas. So there is that story as well. So
this is the Dadichi story?
Dadichi story.
Yeah, it'll come in the next section. That's the next vibhuti. Among weapons, I am the Vajra. So that Vajra comes from the Dadichi.
Okay. So that is the Dadichi story. Yeah, okay.
But this was awesome, Subbu. You actually nailed it, man, today. It was beautiful.
I was a little... No, the thing is, still, I feel there are some places where even I'm not very clear. It's like probably, I don't know if there is somebody can tell me the source where one needs to look for this information,
No.
Because...
So I also did research similar to yours. So my story of Ganga has just minor difference. So he had 60,001 sons.
One. Yeah. 60,001 sons.
That.
So 60,000 were... So the Sagar, and the name of the king is Sagar. And because his children dug the thing, that's why it is known as Sagar. Sagar's kids did that, so it is Sagar. And then the 60,000 first kid, that one kid who was the oldest one, his name was Asmanja. And he was a miscreant. So he was actually exiled from the kingdom even before the Ashwamedh Yagya was done. So he was exiled because he was like a madman and he was a miscreant, always creating. So his story is very similar to Jad Bharat. He was almost close to enlightenment in his previous life. So he didn't want, and he was the oldest son. If he behaved well, he would have been made the king. So then he would have to be in this thing. So he actually was very happy. He was exiled, but he did marry, and his son's name was Anshuman.
Anshuman, and then
when the 60,000 kids when they were burnt by Kapila Rishi, Sagar reaches to his eldest son, ki boss, you go and look for them now. So he said, no, I will not do that, but my son may help you. So then Anshuman tries and he couldn't finish the task.
He doesn't succeed. Yeah.
He didn't succeed. So his son was
That's
Bhagirath.
Bhagirath. Yeah,
And then
correct.
he took it upon himself that his purpose of life is to get Ganga.
Yeah.
And then when Brahmaji told him, so he first prays to Brahmaji, and Ganga was very keen to come down. So both Ganga and Bhagirath, they prayed together because Ganga had affinity for Shiva. So she said, oh, Shiva can hold me in his locks. So they both prayed to Shiva, but then Shiva held her so tightly that she was choked.
Suffocated, yeah.
So then they prayed again, and then he let go. Because if nobody would have held Ganga, it would have directly gone to the Patal Lok.
Yeah.
So then once it goes down, you cannot bring it up. So then how will it go through the path where those were burned? So that's why Shiva was. And then when he was, then he let go little by little. And that Rishi's name is Janu. Jahnu, Janu Rishi.
Yeah.
And
I think the Janvi or something is coming, no? Later.
Yes. So when he let go, that's the reason he's known as Janvi. And on day of Akshay Tritiya is when he let go. That's why the birth of Akshay Tritiya is also known as birth of Ganga day.
I see.
Because that's the day when Janu Rishi let her go.
Let her go. Okay.
So
and interestingly, symbolically, if you, let's say you're doing some rituals and let's say you touch your feet or you sneeze or whatever, right? And you're supposed to go wash your hands and legs, but people don't do it. They just touch their right ear and then continue, because right ear apparently is supposed to be the place from where the Ganga is to be staying there. Beautiful narration, like, you know.
So what you do is actually you don't have to take bath, because you're actually, after certain things you have to take bath. You can just sprinkle water here on the ear and then you can continue. Yeah, very interesting.
Shortcuts for the modern world.
Stuff, right? You know, in terms of how your life can be lived if you understand the Puranas. What are the escape routes and all those things? Everything is mapped out.
I think it was more focused on the intent, right? I mean, like just to ensure that the intent is good and clear. So even if there is something that goes wrong, okay, think that Ganga is here, then think that, you're purifying yourself. But the thinking process just vanishes. Then you start doing mechanically. That's when the problem arises.
Yeah.
Hey, VP, you had your hand raised for a long time.
Yeah, so since we are talking about all away from the shlokas, I just wanted to ask Kishore. Kishore, you use the word mythical stories or mythology. And I always wondered about that why do we call all these stories mythology? Because in our scriptures and whatever, we have been listening, hearing, they have been sort of presented as the real stories. Right? So I was just curious. I mean, I don't mean to ask you per se, but I just thought I'll ask because you use those words.
I also use the word ignorant.
As I said,
I think there are two different sets, right? Itihasas and Puranas.
Yeah. So VP, if I may answer, all Purana stories may not have happened. It may have happened, it may not have happened. So there's no jury on it out yet. But Itihas definitely happened. So some of these stories may not have happened.
Ramayana and Mahabharata is Itihas, yeah?
Ramayana and Mahabharata are Itihas.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I always thought, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding was that the Puranas, the stories were created to make it easier to assimilate some of these harder teachings. Is that right? I mean,
yes, yeah.
Correct. But some of them actually may have happened as well.
And then they weave that in.
Taken it as, but no one knows which ones happened, which ones didn't. So
like in this case, to prove the point that, hey, spine is very important, and that's you need to focus on that. I mean, here's a story that shows how important spine is. Like somebody can now remember, okay, this is why I'm doing this, as an example.
Yeah.
So, but how do you say that it's sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to say, to your question,
No, go ahead.
what is mythology mean? I mean, it's often, construed in different ways, but what does it really mean in terms of etymology or the essence of them?
Myth, no? Mythology
The word
is root
mythology.
myth.
Yeah, the myth in the Indian
Myth is
language
something
is
that
like
does not happen or is
it's
not real.
untrue, right? Or often untrue, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So
how does one sort of look at this word? And that might be worth talking about.
I don't think you should
Sure.
use it for our purposes. Mythology is too broad-based, and it is used by the Western world to describe some of our scriptures. We
right.
have more finer classification between itihasas and Puranas, like what Alpana mentioned, right? Itihasas are clearly what we believe in our dharma, that they have occurred on this earth at some point in time, in some era. And Puranas are Puranas, right? Some of them could truly be mythology. There could be stories, and some of them could be true happenings as well.
And stories
So Ajay,
to
if you go,
explain the Vedas. Yeah, go ahead.
no, finish. Sorry, go ahead. Finish, please.
No, I was just saying that these stories were to make it, as VP said, to make it easier to understand the Vedas.
Yeah. So I was just
Yes,
saying
sure.
that Ajay, I think my understanding is the word myth comes from mithya, and that's how it has. I think, and that's how it has
Interesting.
become. Yeah, and that's how it has been propagated by these Western scholars to club everything, as Uday was saying, that they just were indiscriminatory and they just put everything as mythology, and that's why I don't particularly like what Devdutt Patnaik talks about. Right, he's the king of modern mythology.
Yeah, I know.
On the scriptures, and I think so. It's a big hodgepodge now. Sorry, Alpa, you were saying something.
No. You complete your thought. Sorry, I thought you'd done.
So that's why there is always this tension in my mind, that as to what is real and what is not real. And as Alpna said, that Puranas are sort of could be either or, but even there, you don't know what is true, what is not true, and hence everything has been put together in one big category as far as the Western scholars are concerned.
Yeah, Shini, because before you go, I just wanted to say that, they selectively used mithya, right? The whole world is mithya that way. So
Indeed,
they didn't go that far.
Only
what was useful.
Only if they got it right.
Correct.
Only if they study Vedanta, Alpna.
I know. So they should have taken it further and solved it for
That's an
everyone.
interesting thing, Rajesh, to say that mythology came from mithya.
Yeah, I like that.
It's my interpretation. It's logical. It makes sense. I don't know.
It sounds good. I mean, it's believable.
And then you can add a
Mithya
joke
is
on top of
believable.
it.
Yeah.
Mithya is believable. It's an oxymoron. But yeah.
So we're also operating in different lokas, Patala loka and this loka. So a different level of consciousness.
Yeah.
So I have a question then. Are lokas Puranic, or they are real? Like there is some truth to that.
I have a slide for that. You want to see that? I just opened that slide. Just one sec. Since we have time, and I think
Sure.
Question is, are the 14 lokas part of Vedas, or are they part of Puranas?
See, I think it is already the lokas are not a fiction of imagination, So I don't know. This is what I had picked up from. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how the 3D model of the 14 lokas are given. I mean, this is one picture I generally picked up from the Google, but if you see the text on the left hand side, right? So apparently what happens is that there are 7 worlds, from Bhulaka, there are 7 worlds on the top. Like there is Bhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. Okay, and Satyam is where Brahmaji sits. Okay, so if you see all these 7 lokas are the ones which come as part of the Gayatri mantra. When you do the this one, no, Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Suvaha, Om Maha Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam. Okay, so then we say Tatsavitar Varenyam Bhargo Deva Siddhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Right, so then we say Apo Jyotira Samvartam Bhurvasvam. So 7 words are the one at the top, and the 7 words below are Athala, Vitala, Sutala, Sarathala, Talathala, Mahathala, and Patala. Patala is the one which is the lowest, okay, which is the bottom. Apparently, these 14 lokas are in the shape of a egg. Okay, that is why it is called Andam. Egg is an Andam, and since it is created by Brahmaji, it is called Brahmandam. Okay, so it's a typical word that is used for something which is very gigantic, right? So 3D model is in the form of an egg created by Brahma. It's called Brahmandam. And apparently there is a lot of embryonic fluids, okay, which is like that of an egg. That is why it is called Garbodham, Garbodakam also, right? And apparently inside is where the Lord pervades. And, when you look at Vishnu Sahasranam, there is a statement, right? Bhuv Padav Yasyanabha Veda Surla Chandra Surya Chanetre. Okay, Bhuv Padav is basically the earth is his feet. Okay, Yasya Nabi, from the lotus of the Nabi is where the Brahma is seated. So you can imagine the Lord is beyond all this, okay, when it is described in Vishnu Sahasranama. And the other thing is basically, this is how the thing is explained. Okay, this is what I could gather from some discussions and topic earlier. Sorry.
Srini, you have your hand raised, Srini.
Yeah, see, just a clarification on Itihasa and Puranas. From what I could, gather, Itihasas is something, which really happened, and it was written as it happened. So, which means that as the, story unveiled, I mean, not the story, as the event unveiled, it happened. But Puranas can be both ways. Now, Puranas can be something which actually happened also, or it could be a figment of imagination also.
Yeah.
So I think this is the subtle difference between Itihasa and Puranas. The one more area where we have to see is Puranas are the ideas which are relevant even today. So that is one point I think which Swami Ji made in some of his lectures. The Puranas which is being said can be relevant even today, but Itihasa is like events which happened once upon a time, from which we need to take the the gist of whatever happened, and we can fine tune our life. So I thought I will just add this also, and if I am correct or wrong, somebody can correct me.
But Itihasa is a true incidents that have happened, right? The Mahabharata and Ramayana.
He's saying Itihasas may not be relevant in terms of the messages or the happening.
Because see, Itihas again, so Ramayana is not that it happened only once. It happens in so many, because it's cyclic, right?
Correct.
It doesn't happen in every Treta Yuga, but it happens in some of the Treta Yugas. So that's why there are differences in different Ramayana. Some Ramayana will say Hanumanji was a brahmachari, in some they'll say Hanumanji was a married person, because there may be minor differences. The whole storyline remains the same, but there may be minor differences in between. So that's why it did happen, but it can be conglomeration of different times. I mean, Kagbhushandi saw nine Rams in his lifetime.
Sorry, come again?
Kagbhushandi, he has seen Ram 9 times in his lifetime.
It's a crow. It's a crow in Ramayana which keeps happening.
Okay.
So, and just one more point is, actually even Upanishads have stories, right, sometimes. But Vedas were before everybody came. So then do you consider those stories as real or not real?
I thought you were supposed to answer questions and we were supposed to ask questions.
But actually speaking, no, I've heard this thing that even the Upanishads sometimes they differ in the sequence of those Panchabhutas, no? See, normally we say Akasha, then afterwards we say, Vayu, then fire, Jal, and then Prithvi, right? somewhere, I think in one of the, I'm not forgetting, I think it's Chandogya or something, I think it says it the other way around. That is, it says Jal and then fire and then earth. So there are differences even, there in amongst...
Because it is all mithya, nothing was created. There's a story, everything is a story. Because it wasn't created. If it was created, then it will be factually correct and all consistent. Because nothing is created. It all appears together like a dream. In the dream, your grandfather doesn't appear first, then your father, and then you. No, they can appear in any order. You'll appear first, and then your father will come. And then the Maya itself creates the relationship also. Oh no, it would have come before. Right? So I think that, I mean, the answer is this, that there is no creation. Otherwise, if there was really a creation, the story of creation, which is Adhyarop, would have been constant or same in all Upanishads. We just use one to say, oh, this is how it may have happened, but then eventually you have to negate it all, right? So that's why you can, and that's why I was actually half joking when I said in mythology, they should have just said everything is a mythology, including what's happening in science and everything else, right? Because there is no creation.
Srini, you have something to say?
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
Lower your hand.
You can lower your hand.
If you don't mind. Thank you.
One more thing I had was, because we covered japa, and Subbu beautifully covered that, the number of letters in the mantra, you have to do those many lakhs, and then you have to do 1/3 more, because otherwise you have to, there are certain things you need to do after the Purush Charan is completed. It's called as Purush Charan. Purush Charan is each number of letters that are there, those many lakh times you repeat it for unlocking it. Because in Kali Yuga, all the mantras are actually locked. They're called keelit. Keel is the nail, so they're locked. So you have to open it for it to be beneficial or to reap the benefits of it. The other way is actually most of the gurus have it unlocked. So when they pass it on to you, then it is unlocked. Then you don't need to do the Purush Charan. And then difference between Purush Charan and what's the other word? Parayan.
Parayan,
so the difference.
Yeah.
So Parayan is when
like Gita Parayan,
like you read it.
Don't repeat it.
Yeah, you don't repeat it like hundreds of times, etc. You do one whole thing. So that is known as Parayan. But Japa is where you repeat, and it's usually a small mantra, and you get the benefit.
Can you say that again? If there are 5 letters in the mantra, you have to repeat it 5 lakh times plus 1/3 longer.
1/3 of 5 lakhs actually to complete it. So like for Gayatri mantra, it is 24 letters.
Lakhs.
So you have to do it 24 lakh plus 3 lakhs. So 27 lakhs times.
24 lakhs plus 8 lakhs.
Actually, not 8 lakhs, it's 3 lakhs. So 27 you have to do. So whatever the math is, that number you have to do in addition for it to be. So we should do at least one Purush Charan of Gayatri to get Antahakaran Shuddhi.
And this japa should be continuous.
No.
No, you can do it at any...
So people normally tend to do 10,000 a day. So then also it will take years, a year.
It's very long, yeah, because I've done the math, because there was, there was one astrologer whom I met in Chennai, okay? And he went and sort of started seeing my horoscope in the evening, and then, at about 7:38 in the evening. And he justified his seeing, because normally astrologers are not supposed to see after the sun sets. Okay. And that's what he told me, right? He told me that we are not allowed to see, but I have the, capacity to see it after the sun sets, because I have done 1 crore Gayatri Japa. He says, right from I was a child, every day I have done 1008. And he was some 75, 80 years old guy. Okay. And he says, now after having chanted 101 crore Gayatri mantra, Agni Devata is with me when I am giving you the, the assurances and the predictions, etc., etc. So he was so vehement when he spoke. And I suddenly came back and I immediately did the math, even if I did 1,000, okay, in a day, in a year, you would do how much? Yeah, you would do only 30,000. I mean, 3 lakhs you will do, right? Even if you do 1,000 a day, you do 3 lakhs. And you have to do this consistently for, 30 years to be able to touch 1 crore without a break.
So Subbu, get started, man.
Hey, I am. No, I actually chant Gayatri a lot. I used to chant even when I was a kid and all that. That has been my strength all along in life. And
So
that
my
I can tell
question,
from experience. That I can tell from
Subbu,
experience.
my
I don't know how
question
much I've
is
reached.
whether,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
My
Go ahead.
question is, which I'm trying to know whether that guy's prediction turned out to be correct or not, with all the claims that he made to you.
Whatever. Yes, of course, some of them did come true, but I mean, he gave me a perspective to the whole thing, right? And he said that, see, typically to chant a Gayatri Mantra 1,008 times, you have to spend at least 1.5 hours here. It is not easy. We do it once a year, okay? When we do this change of thread, right? Avni Avtam, it is called. We do it once a year. And that time when we chant, it takes me at least 1.5 hours to 1 hour 40 minutes to finish off. And if I do it slowly, the way I'm doing now, because now I have stopped going fast, I have started doing it slowly. It takes a real long time.
So I read the story around Sati. Sati's father apparently did this Gayatri Japa, like, I don't know, some 10,000 times a day or something like that he used to do, apart from being a king of this thing and all that. And then, while they were describing how he could have perhaps done that many times, it was, right, when you say it, it takes a certain amount of time. But when you internally do it, right, it takes a much shorter time. And maybe that is how, those huge number of petitions is counted.
In South, there used to be a Swamigal, called Gayatri Swamigal. I don't know whether somebody has heard of him. I did not have the chance to meet him, but my family, my father, mother, and I think my brother had a chance to meet. Okay. He's actually a Grihastha who took to chanting of Gayatri Mantra regularly after a point in time. And apparently what he says is that, at one point, he was asked not to repeat more than 11 times a day at a certain point after he had completed a thing. And he was like a Siddhi, okay, Siddhar, right? To my brother, to my father, mother, and all that, when they did namaskars and all, he materialized, small idols and gave it to them. Okay, and so he was in a position able to manifest. He had certain powers, but apparently the only thing that he does is all through the day he chants the mantra all through the day. And he will not talk to you, but when he meets, he blesses you and he manifests and gives something. He doesn't know what is coming in his hand. It might be a Ganesh Murthy, it might be a Devi Murthy, it might be something else, Hanuman, whatever. But he will manifest something and give it to you. And but that's the power of the mantra, That's the power of the mantra, repetition.
That Gayatri Mantra is one of the best for Antahkaran Shuddhi.
Sorry?
For Antahkaran Shuddhi, Gayatri Mantra is one of the best to do. So,
there is a story in, Bhagavatam also. I don't know whether we've discussed this story before, but, just before the end of the Krishna avatar, the Pandavas ask him, what is it going to be like, from now, after the war is over, everything is over, etc. So they ask him this question. And then he says that it's going to be Kali from now, and I will tell you an example of Kali, and he shoots 4 arrows in 4 different directions, asks Arjuna to shoot, and then he asks the Pandavas to go and actually fetch them, right? So what happens is Arjuna goes and, he finds where the arrow has fallen. He finds actually a cuckoo bird actually singing very sweetly. But at the same time, he was aghast to see that it was holding on to the flesh of an animal and trying to peck the flesh and eat the flesh at the same time. Okay, so he was very aghast seeing that. Bhima went in one direction, and I think, what happened? I think 2-3 things happened. That is, he saw, some wells, and then, one well was overflowing. Lots of wells were dry, but at the same time, there was one well which was overflowing quite a lot, right? Then again, Nakula side, all of them go in, and one of them actually end up seeing a boulder coming down the mountain, and all of a sudden it stops in front of a small plant. Okay, and there is one more. There is one more of a cow and a calf, right? And so one of the Pandavas see the cows and calf, and after the calf is born, the cow is trying to protect the calf so much that the calf actually is not able to survive. It's not able to get up on its knees and start, and it actually dies. Right. So when they come to Krishna, they ask him what is the significance of this. So the first one he says is the Brahmins, okay, will be like the cuckoo birds, singing beautiful things, but they will actually exploiting the society. So that is one he says. The second thing he says about the mother and the calf, he says that will be the relationship of how attached the parents will be to the kids in Kali Yuga, right? And he says it will be to such a point that they will not be able to retract. When they try to retract, it will be a bit too late for the kid to actually be able to stand up on its own legs. Number 3 is the wells going dry and the wells going full. He would say that wealth would be unevenly distributed in Kali Yuga. Some people will have lots of money, and some people will not have money at all. But it will not be the nature of the people with wealth to be able to give money to the people who are in need. Okay, and the last one he says is the rock coming down the the mountain and being stopped by a small plant. He says the rock is like the character of the person. It falls down and sort of degrades very quickly in Kali Yuga. But then what is the plant and the shrub which is able to stop the rock? He says is Namasmarana. Okay. He says it's the power of Namasmarana which will be able to even bring down, the degradation that happens in basically thing. It's a story in Bhagavatam.
But in
So
Kali
that's the
Yuga, if
power
you
of
have to do the
Namasmarana.
Gayatri, if you have to do Gayatri, you should do it with Vinayog, because otherwise
Sorry?
it's long.
What is that,
If
Vinayog?
you do Gayatri, you should do it with Vinayog.
What
So
is
there is a
Vinayog?
Vinayog. You can post it. It's you just
Mantra.
need to say who's the Rishi, who's this thing, so that it's unlocked before you say it for full benefit. Otherwise, also you'll get benefit, but for larger benefit. VP, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, on a lighter note, one benefit of Gayatri is what I can share with all of you. Whenever I'm not feeling sleepy, I start reciting Gayatri Mantra, and I have never finished 11 of them. So it has worked every time for me to get a
What,
good
you have
night's
not
sleep.
finished? How many of them? 11?
Yeah. So before I finish the 11th one, I am off.
Wow, I should try that, VP. I have trouble sleeping, man.
So keep going and see what is your limit. And the next morning you will know. But I have actually counted many a times when I'm not getting sleep. And that's primarily because of some anxiety or some worry. I mean, not these days, but earlier. I would just start chanting Gayatri Mantra, and by 11th I'll be gone. So I mean, jokes aside, I think Alpana is right that even when you are doing it without the Vinayog, just because there is so much power in those letters, in the way it is supposed to be chanted, you just sort of feel very relaxed. I think that's what my experience has been. That you feel very relaxed and you sort of move away from whatever your